my god, I've been waiting like 3 years for this movie to come out. Better late than never, I guess. So I mentioned before that The Little Prince is one of my favorite books of all time, and a couple of years ago I did a review of The Adventures of the Little Prince, which was the anime based on the book, which was released in the 70s and brought over to the US in the 80s. I talked quite a bit about the book at the beginning of that video, so if you'd like to know more, be sure to check it out. I also mentioned in that video that there was a movie coming out based off the book. It was announced, I believe, in September of 2014, and it was a French movie. It was released in France first, and then it was scheduled to come over to the US with an English dub. And right before it was supposed to hit theaters, and when I say right before, I mean like days before it was supposed to hit theaters, its distributor dropped it for no reason, and we've yet to get some kind of explanation as to why. But luckily, Netflix saved the day and decided to distribute the movie themselves, which did mean there was even more of a delay because for some reason it took several months for it to hit Netflix, but eventually the world got to see the new Little Prince movie. The sad part is this movie has some amazing visuals that I would have loved to have seen on the big screen. Heck, I would have paid to go see it in 3D. And I don't ever do that. So one of the concerns I had about this movie was the wraparound segments, because there was this unrelated storyline that kind of served as the story's framing device about this little girl who was being forcefully prepped by her mom to go to the best school in the world, and she had a schedule that she had to go by. She had to study all the time. Eventually she gets to meet her neighbor, who is the pilot from the book, who tells her about the story of the Little Prince. And to be fair, it's not that it's bad or anything. I think I just would have preferred an adaptation of the book. You know, it's kind of like the same problem I had with the Book of Life, because in that movie, the entire story was being told to a bunch of, you know, rowdy children. And I was just like, why can't we just have the actual story? Why do we need the framing device? And yes, for those of you who are already familiar with the book, I know it's narrated, so it already kind of has a framing device. But the thing is, the point they were trying to make here just felt so very heavy-handed. Because, you know, we live in this boring world of gray houses that are square, and all the houses and people look the same, and we only care about boring things like numbers and sticking to schedules. And then they look over at the pilot's house, and it's like, oh, his house is colorful, and he has plants and birds and an airplane, and we think he's weird. But then this one little girl goes over and is actually interested in what he has to say, and you get the point. Essentially what this movie is kind of a sequel to the book, because like I said before, the little girl meets the pilot and he's telling her pretty much the story in the book, or rather the key moments in the book, because there is quite a bit that he does leave out. There were a lot of really fun and happy moments in this movie, and like I said, there were some amazing visuals. There was a mix of stop motion with CG animation. There were also very sad moments in this movie. I'm not going to give away too much, but I will say, as a fan of the book, there was a moment in this movie that was so shocking to me that I almost went, "No! You traitor!" Again, I'm not going to say what it was, but you'll know it when it happens. And they did have a very good point to make with it, but it was still so jarring to me that I actually had to pause the movie and, like, get up and walk around for a little bit. I really liked the book, as you can probably tell. But I was happy to see that despite all the extra stuff, the movie did keep with the same spirit of the book. It had the same message. It made the same point. Basically, what you can take away from it is, it's okay to grow up, just don't become a cynical adult. Which I think is a message that a lot of people need to hear. Though part of me still wishes we got a true adaptation of the book. The closest one I've seen is probably the Will Vinton claymation one, and even then, that's kind of an abridged version of the story. But I was very pleased with how this movie turned out. It had very endearing, lovable characters, and like I said, it had a great message, so I highly recommend you check it out. Well, that's all I got for The Little Prince. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think of it. And what do you want to be when you grow up?